Hello and welcome back to Highway to Hoover, a production of SEC Extra over at D1Baseball.com. I'm your host, Joe Healy, joined this week by a very special guest, the Vice President of Scouting for Prep Baseball. We're borrowing him over at D1 Baseball for today. That's Shooter Hunt. We're going to talk about the 18U National Team Trials. Going to talk some recruiting today. Shooter and I were both in Cary for a couple of days last week in the 100+ degree heat. That was it's not great. I went through a ton of water. Did we survived it is basically what I'm getting at, even though it was touch and go there. So we're going to talk about some of the guys who are potentially coming to campus for the 27 season. So we still have to get them through their senior years, get them through the draft, all that stuff, but figured it might be a nice way to look ahead to some of the players coming through the pipeline here. Before we jump into any specifics, though, I have to remind you that this episode of Highway to Hoover and every episode of Highway to Hoover is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The sun's out and the fun is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Score a cool pool, savor summer flavor with a grill, prep for fishing weekends, or mount up with a new mountain bike. However you have fun, you can't lose with our top brands. Gear up online at academy.com or at your local store. Shooter, first off, appreciate you joining us and carving out some time in what is a very busy time of year for you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I've been excited to get on here. Highway to Hoover. I'm actually headed down to Hoover, so I'll be experiencing that heat pretty soon.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, happy to do so. I thought about, to make you feel a little more comfortable as a Tulane University legend, I thought about learning that, what's that chant they do, Shooter? The hooray, hooray. Or,
1, 2, a hell of a hullabaloo. Hullabaloo,
yes,
ray,
yes.
ray. Hullabaloo, ray, ray. Hooray, hooray. Varsity, TA, varsity, Tulane.
Yeah, there it is. I like that. Let's jump in real quick with just kind of a broad overview question, because you'd have a much better feel for this than I would, not just within the context of SEC commitments, but at the 26 class as a whole, the prep class. What's the industry consensus on where it stacks up compared to the one that we just saw get drafted?
Yeah, we're still trying to evaluate that. I don't think the shortstops will be quite as impactful with as much depth as we saw in this year's draft, where I was just talking about. I think 22 of our top 25 shortstops got drafted and signed, and which means, hey, there's going to be some first rounders from this 25 class. Which, hey, Arkansas, Carson Brumbaugh is coming to town, Landon Schaefer's coming to town. Arkansas may have one of those guys in the end, but there is some high-level frontline talent, as always. It's some really athletic guys with huge upside. Maybe they're not quite there just yet. And then I think the southpaws at the top end are really impactful. So I'm pretty sure those guys will end up getting drafted. You'll probably talk about it next spring. The lefties are still trying to separate themselves at the collegiate level. So those guys are not quite there yet. Whereas these high school guys, hey, we're looking at kind of some slam dunk top 10 picks. So that's kind of where we are. We'll also potentially deal with some reclasses, which I think that will be something to talk about in the future. But for right now, a really fun class to deal with. And it was fun watching them in Cary.
Boy, reclass. What are we? College basketball? My goodness. One more thing to add to all of the different layers of what recruiting is these days in college baseball. What's one more thing on top of all the chaos? So, the team that stood out in terms of college program, as I was looking at the commitments, was Texas. They have 9 guys that were on that initial phase 1 roster of the trials. Anyway, I guess, are there any standouts from that group to you? I mean, there's some guys that are obviously just never going to make it to Texas, candidly, right? But I'm curious if you have a feel for, if any, which of those guys, if any, do you have confidence in? This is a guy that's actually probably going to end up in campus and could be an impact guy down the road.
Well, I think just talking about Texas, and we've entered an age where, hey, Texas, as Coach Schlossnagle comes in, that is an absolute powerhouse, and they are a gauntlet on the recruiting trail because it's a national brand. You're seeing a lot of California kids who are willing to go to Austin, which allows them to go coast to coast, along with LSU and Tennessee, kind of like at the upper echelon of those guys are impacting national recruiting at this point. Arkansas to an extent as well. But UT, it's just an absolute powerhouse. I think Grady Emerson is probably the biggest name for right now. And he's a guy where he could get to campus. You start looking, we're just talking about, You get to campus, you're in the SEC, you perform, you're at UT, you become like a top 5 potential 1-1 pick after 3 years. Now, he will have first round status going into the spring. The bat really works. He's a professional hitter. Honestly, he could step on campus and play right now just because he can move the barrel around. He can defend a bit. He's a real high IQ player. Bo Peterson's another one who he's kind of pro ready too. Just the way he stands in the box. He made it, actually, I'm sure you were there for a great play. He made it third base. He can also pitch. I would tend to lean like this is kind of more of a pro profile. And I don't exactly know what's going on with the NIL issues where we're at, because it seems like the rules are changing. So I don't know quite what the salary cap is at this point to keep guys like that. But I think Grady would definitely be the guy that I would be locked in on the most from the UT standpoint. Any other guys that you were locked in on? Because
I like Trey Rangel, like kind of a little bit of a slight but athletic right-hander. It looked a little to me, still work to do on the breaking ball, but looked to me a little bit like a Patrick Forbes starter kit, where it's like a somewhat, and he still has to grow into the body, but athletic right-hander with like a fastball that's just like a lightning bolt. And when he got in trouble, it was the fastball that he wanted to get himself out of trouble with, and he went to it time and again. So that's a guy. I'm a sucker for those guys where you see within 2 or 3 pitches, like, oh, okay. Like this is a real guy.
He's got FU stuff, like flat out. He comes out and it's 3,000 plus RPMs in the breaking ball. He's showing you every pitch right from the jump. Ultra competitive kid. Dad is the head football coach at the Colony. But the fastball, 96, 97, top of the zone sinkers. He can do so many different things. I've kind of, I don't know if you know Jared Jones is. He's with the Pirates now. Was a SoCal kid, like very similar outside of Trey Rangel. Has way better spin at this same age. He's also got the makings of a plus changeup. It's real stuff. Like you throw him in, you're getting swings and misses right now at the collegiate level. He's really good. I mean, Easton Autry was a big physical bat, had a double early. Now there's some holes up top, but like you can't teach like being Texan and 6'4" and 215, right? You swing left-handed. It's an absolute club. He's really good there. Cooper Harris is like one of my favorite pitchers in the class, 92, 94. He's still got more to come. He's at Flower Mound High School there in the DFW area. But like, I kind of comped him to a Jersey kid from a few years ago who got $3 million in the draft, but Steven Echeverria, who the A's took. It's just so projectable, square shoulder. The arm really works. The spins continue to get better. I'm a huge fan of his. But like, there's just so much upside to these Texas kids. And then I'm missing Bryce Krennic, who I'm probably the highest guy on, because there's an old school factor to what he does. He goes out there and he's just, hey, I'm not here to show off my stuff. I'm here to get outs and post zeros. And he did that for 80 innings in high school. His dad's the high school coach. Then he came to our NPI event, did it for 3 days and winning the event. And then he goes to USA, and the velo is not going to be where it is next spring. I think he'll probably be up closer to 96, maybe tickling 97 as he recovers. But he's still getting outs at 88 to 92 and just really disrupting timing. You even throw in, like, I'm going long-winded here, but like Max Weiner does such a great job there. Tucker Thompson, who did not have the best showing at USA. Oh, how does he fit into match? Well, it's super loose. It's kind of funky. He can spin a slider from the left side. You throw that in there and you kind of mess around with the metrics, and all of a sudden you're getting huge outs. Shoot, Hayes Holton, who my look was super quick, 90, 94. It's a big arm out of Louisiana. He's probably going to throw 100. Honestly, it's a great bunch, but I think more than anything, Grady Emerson's going to be the one that really defines this class. Does he get to campus? Can they get him there? Because then you're laying a foundation. I'm sure all UT fans know there's more than enough money in the piggy bank for them to go out and get little pieces. You're trying to get a superstar in the freshman class.
A couple of other programs that had plenty of representation there, LSU and Tennessee. And for me, a couple guys that stood out there of those groups for me. For LSU, Anthony Murphy, like the raw juice was just, I mean, he had a home run on day one of the deal that, you know, for those who know the Cary complex, it almost cleared the berm behind left field and, you know, got up to where their admin building is. So that was, I mean, it wasn't the greatest week overall for him, but that's kind of the deal where that one swing just shows you that, okay, we know what we're working with here, kind of results set aside. And then on Tennessee, again, a guy that I think he battled his command a little bit throughout, but the arm talent of Tyler Putnam stood out to me. It's, you know, just another one of those guys, you saw 3 pitches and you were kind of bought in on him. So those two stood out to me, even if maybe they weren't necessarily the 2 statistical stars of the weekend, Cary.
I mean, Anthony Murphy was at Corona High School in Southern California, which just had 3 top 32 picks. Like, he'll be another one for next year. And the big thing for me with him, I've been saying it for a couple of years now, he's the best tracking outfielder in the class. Like, his attention to detail in the outfield, he can really go down, really can go and get it. It's kind of where triples go to die. Anthony Murphy out there, plus arm. He also pitches a little bit. You talk about the power. There's some swing and miss right now. You do worry about, if you're an LSU fan, obviously, like, the scouts have not missed him. They had a Schiefelbein from last year who got close to $2 million. The 3 this year, Anthony Murphy has more than enough appearances in front of some high-level decision makers where you're looking at probably a second, third round type guy going into spring. But it's really big stuff. Malachi Washington, he did not perform the way he did in the spring. I mean, he was a prep baseball All-American, kid from Georgia, Parkview, like big time program there. He did not have his best moments, which happens a lot in Cary. Why? You talked about the heat. Like, it's a gauntlet. It's hard to go through those workouts. It's hard to go out there, especially after a long season. But his burst out of the box, it's super twitchy, that first step in the outfield, can do it at the plate. Just sticking to LSU, like Dylan Blomker has frontline stuff. I keep likening him to Jeremy Hellickson just because it's so easy throughout the delivery. Now it's probably more velocity, not quite the same strike throwing that Hellickson was so famous for. But I mean, it's as easy a 95 to 96. If he's up to 100 next spring, I wouldn't doubt it. It's another real day one guy because the metrics of all the secondary stuff explodes. I put nothing past LSU at this point, though, Joe. Like, you may get to campus. Like, you cannot assume anything. Doesn't matter how good these guys are. There's a chance that they get to Baton Rouge. You know, the purple and gold is that good. Cooper Side's another California product. It's real explosive stuff. He's actually going to be moving to Orange Lutheran High School next year, so there'll be a lot of eyes on him. But he's up into the mid-90s. He's about 6'5", 210, physical right-hander. He's really good. I mean, Dylan Minity was only there for like a brief stint. We had a few guys go down with almost heat exhaustion. That's what we were dealing with, and what this poor USA staff was dealing with. But he's one of the better bat the ball guys in the class. Can really move the barrel around. Like, going in this summer, like, looking at him as, is he one of the better hitters in the class? Kind of the same way we talked about Jaden Fauske a year ago. Sorry, Tiger fans, that he won't be making it to campus. But like, that's kind of the talk about him. And then, like, even Colt Chrisman's a guy, like, he did not have a great experience there in Cary. But you look at him, what's the value of this player? Wow, he throws left-handed. It's a quick arm. He throws from all sorts of different angles. It's going to be a tough look in the end. You can't just bring in all, like, frontline Friday night guys. You need to have Riley Cooper, right? Hey, Riley Cooper is a very important piece because he can go into any game at any time. So I'm always excited for guys like that. But that's kind of the LSU standpoint of things. I think Murph and Washington, they're going to be really tough to get to school. Like, those are 2 really gifted outfielders. I'm sure the Coach Jay and JJ and the rest of the staff are going to be looking for guys because they'll probably lose Curiel to the first round next year. But, you know, they always reload.
No doubt. Yeah, on the Tennessee side, like I said, Putnam and then Cole Kinniger, I think, and that's interesting because they got him out of the DFW Metroplex, which can be a tough thing to do with all the programs, Texas and A&M and TCU and, you know, all those programs that spend a lot of time there. So, you know, maybe as I looked through the Tennessee commits, it really wasn't necessarily the guys that were popping up time and time again. But again, the arm strength of Putnam and then Kinniger just being a two-way guy, impressive stuff there for both of them.
And Josh Elander having those Texas roots is very helpful for
it helps
this
indeed.
there. They do such a great job. I mean, Cole Kinniger is like he is the top two-way guy in the class. It's explosive stuff. He has as high of a ceiling, if not higher, than anybody else. 6'3", 210. He's 94 to 90 in the bump. Hammer breaking ball. I almost discount, like, I'm not even going to watch too much of you pitching because you're so good at shortstop and your right-handed stick produces so much impact. That's where a ton of value is. Now, he swung and missed, didn't have the best at-bats at this event, which has happened a lot to a lot of first-rounders in the past. So he's one that, like, very much I would be very worried about him if I'm a Vols fan. But guys, like what Tony has done at Tennessee that is remarkable and is why they're doing so well. They're not just getting the top, hey, this hits me right in the face, right? Cole Kinniger, you step onto the field. I'm sure you saw him, like, you can't miss this guy. He hits the ball harder than everybody. He's bigger than everybody. He's got a stronger arm. He's like the big 12-year-old in Williamsport. Jackson Wood is not that guy. And what Tony has done, they've identified, hey, this guy's an absolute baller. He goes out there and plays as hard as he can at all times. And I'm writing my notes like, is this like a Dustin Pedroia type dude? He just goes out there and does whatever's necessary. He got a lot of hits in the game. Trevor Condon, who is a prep baseball All-American, he'll be heading to Miami with us this year. His talent level is so high. And I keep looking at like, hey, where do we put him next to Slater DeBrun, who just got $4 million from Oregon? Where do we put him next to Slade Caldwell, who is Ole Miss commit, first rounder, not the biggest guy. He's got electric bat speed. I don't think we saw the best from him just because it was kind of a small sample size in Cary, but that dude plays with his hair on fire at all times. You probably would not even have noticed him too much at USA, but Landon Thome might be a better hitter than Jaden Fauske. And he stood in and took some of the best takes of the week and got off some great swings. He's still grown in. He's 6'1", 185, right? Dad, Jim Thome, Hall of Famer. He's going to get bigger and stronger. The defend tool is not quite as strong, which will be interesting to see what that does with regards to the draft. But he is as good of a hitter as there is in this class. I really love him. Like, he's one of my favorite bats, which is something to get really excited about. Gary Morse, I'm going out like Gary Morse is going to throw 100. He's 6'7". He's from Orange Lutheran, the same school now at Cooper Sides, who we just talked about with LSU. He has so many starts in the Trinity League, which is essentially the SEC of high school baseball. The Trinity League is as good as it gets in high school baseball. So he's going up against first rounders at all times. Probably did some inter squads against Derek Curriel in the past. His secondary still has to make those ticks up, but it's a guy you sound like, hey, Frank Anderson gets this guy and he turns him into this next level dude. Obviously, he's going to get tons of looks being in Southern California next year. But really like those. And the shoot, this is without saying Tyler Putnam, I walked away with kind of, hey, these were the impact arms. Now, a lot of the guys had good performances along with the good stuff. Tyler Putnam didn't have like the strongest of performances where it was lights out, hit you in the face, but he was the name I was sending out the cross checkers like, hey, this guy is going to hit 100 next spring. It is an explosive fastball. It's what goes to Knoxville and then turns into AJ Russell or whoever it may be, and becomes explosive.
Yeah, it's such a good call. And that's what Tennessee does these days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to ask you about a few specific players as we move forward. One of which is Kevin Roberts, Florida commit. Just an absolute. He was two players hit home runs. One was Anthony Murphy. The other was Kevin Roberts. They were actually in the same game, interestingly enough. But just an absolute tool shed of a player, from what I understand. Like, runs track, in addition to baseball and I think basketball. So tell us a little bit about Kevin Roberts, the player.
One, you get to take into account, he played at the same high school as Connor Griffin, who the Pirates selected in the first round. He's off to an incredible start professionally. They're very similar, just frame-wise, about 6'4", 6'5". He's one of the younger players in this year's draft. I think he's either just at 18 at draft day, if not 17, 11. So you got to take that into account. He also pitches. I think he was coming off of an injury, so we did not really see his arm and stuff, but like, you can't teach what he has, right? That frame, the athleticism, you talk about the power. I looked at him like there's probably 30, 40 pounds of strength that this kid can add. And he's already showing off that raw power in gameplay. Took some really good at-bats, good swings. There's still some adjustments that I feel are necessary, but he's so young. It's just one of those where you tuck it away and you're like, don't overthink this one. This kid's really good. There's a floor to what we can talk about, and that's probably at pick 35 in the draft. Like that, he's not making it there. It's just too much value. He has a chance to be one of the more special players in this class just because he's got the raw tools that are just to dream on. Did you said Aiden Ruiz?
Well, yes. I was gonna. He was actually my next guy. Like, you described him in Cary as everyone's favorite player. And I just wanted to kind of clear the floor. I'm gonna pass you the ball and then clear out so you can work in the paint here. Like, why did you describe him as everyone's favorite player?
I mean, full McHale in the post here. I'm gonna have to go to
that's
work.
right. Yeah. Turnaround jumper to end the play.
He just plays the game the right way. And I think this is the first time I'd seen him in person, right? Last summer, he kind of did the circuit with a year above. There was some talk, is he going to reclass? And I think that was in strong consideration. I don't think it ended up working out academically where they could get the right credits from what he was doing to get him to Vanderbilt. But switch hitter, the bat the ball is really, really special. He's just on the barrel at all times from both sides. I don't think the impact's quite there yet. If we're talking about Eli Willits from last year, who was probably about 18 months younger at the same time, kind of similar profiles, that they're switch hitters, shortstops, bounce around. His power's not quite there, but he just plays so hard. The baseball intelligence, he was an alluring talent. Anytime he was on the field, you found him. And anytime he made an impact, and those days, they really drag on. Like, it's hot, the sun's out there. And this kid coming into games was like a breath of fresh air. Like, he's doing something. There's a fly ball, make sure it's him. Ground ball, make sure it's it to him. Who's leading off? Who's stealing a bag? And with where Major League Baseball is right now, especially with the bat to ball, the speed playing, and his defensive ability, it's a plus arm at shortstop. He's going to have so much value. We're going to basically go from, hey, is this guy a guy we're talking about from 20 to 30, or is this somebody who we're talking about as a top 15 pick? That's where we're at with him. So I think it will be very difficult for him to get to campus with where it stands right now.
Tell me a little bit about Jorvorskie Lane, a name that, for folks like me who grew up at a specific time in Texas, very familiar with his father, who was a large running back at Texas A&M. He really struggled there at the plate, but, he had a couple loud outs. I heard scouts buzzing about his BP rounds. Obviously, the tools are there. Was that an outlier maybe that what we saw at the plate where I think it was 0 for 9, or is maybe he a little more athlete and talent than ball player at this point?
I wouldn't say it's an outlier. There's definitely some swing and miss in there, but those scouts you're talking, it's pure electricity with the bat speed. It was the most impactful batting practice with regards to power. And he's not that big. Like, you talk about his dad playing running back in the day. Like, it's probably right around 6 foot. He was a catcher too. He can do some work behind the plate, but seeing him in center field was really fun to watch throughout the week. But the raw athleticism and the twitch, it's even without the impactful results of the week, that guy is on a top tier level. And it's going to be hard to push him off of the top 40 outlook. I think he's transferred high school this year with some other prospects, which will be interesting to see. But it is incredible twitch and athleticism at the plate. And I still think his time was there. He tracked fairly well. It was just some swing and miss deep into counts. So I think he's going to be fine in the long run. And when you're paying for tools and the upside of a guy who can be an impact, the ceiling's too high. Take the risk. Like that's where I'm at with Jorvorskie Lane. I was very impressed by what he did, even without the impactful results.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, a guy who's probably not making it to campus, but just for the sake of putting it out there, LSU, A&M, Vanderbilt, Miami, kind of all involved there, at least on paper. We'll see ultimately what comes of that.
For sure.
I kind of want to take a step back and see if there's somebody that, and I'll give you my answer so you can kind of ruminate on this a little bit, but somebody who just didn't, obviously you're following this a lot closer than I, so your answer might be a little tougher, but someone that's not just totally front of mind that you saw in Cary or were reminded of in Cary that ended up sticking out to you that you made a note of. Cause I really like Shawn Sullivan, who's an Alabama commit, who's like the classic kind of like short, low release height righty, where the fastball comes out, real quick and carries through the zone. And the performance was great. The stuff was very good. Just somebody who, again, he's ranked fine, but he's not necessarily one of the names that I was aware of coming into it, and came away just really impressed with the raw stuff there, and think if he's someone Bama can get to campus, could be an impact guy.
Without a doubt, it's an electric arm. And he was actually, I would say the velo was down from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And so he's a guy who's going to be up 99, 90 or 99, 100 in the spring. Like it moves really well. It's aggressive down the mound. It's kind of that 3-pitch mix that each pitch is going to crave those swings and misses. So he's a good one to watch from the state of Ohio. I would say for me, one of the guys like Trey Ebel, he's an A&M recruit, infielder, Again, Corona High School, his brother Brady just got drafted 32nd overall by the Brewers. He's ready, right? That you talk about Gavin Grohovac gets on the campus. Why is Gavin Grohovac really important? Well, because he played in California and he's ready to play as a freshman. Very few guys in the SEC are ready to play as a freshman.
Yep.
Trey Ebel has a chance to do that. It's physical, right-handed hitter. He plays the game the right way. He's one that I really like to watch. If we really wanted to add in Vanderbilt, EJ Booth's another guy where his bat to ball is sensational. He's prep baseball All-American. He's got some stuff to clean up with the hands, which if he cleans it, I thought JoJo Parker last year had some stuff to clean up. He cleaned it up in a hurry, which is why he became a top 10 pick. EJ Booth has a lot of unteachable, super athlete, moves well in the outfield, really tracks, but it's really flicky at the plate, moves the barrel around. But it is freaky exit velocities for how easy. Like, he almost looks like a 1980s hitter. Like, I was looking at him like, is this like Tony Gwynn type bat to ball? Like, he's just moving the barrel around, however, and it comes off at 105, 107. But like those are two guys, and Vanderbilt's class in general. I'm even looking at like Noah Wilson, who did not have his best week at USA. He had a hand injury all spring, which now the Vandy guys are going to be upset because everybody's probably lower on him right now after he exploded our MPI tournament. I think he's got a shot to be a top 40 pick. I don't think you saw his best there at USA, but yeah, give me Trey Ebel there. That's kind of the guy where this can impact the college lineup right away.
Vanderbilt's got an interesting class too. They just have some interesting bodies too. Like RJ Cope is like 6'8" and 2. Like most of these guys we see out there, like still very much look like 17-year-olds in a lot of ways, right? Like just bodies not filled out, baby faces, and then you have the occasional guy. Kevin Roberts is one of them, but RJ Cope, it's like, oh, this is a grown man here. And so like it's just an interesting class for me too, because you've got guys like Aiden Ruiz that are kind of just ballers, and then you've got this physical monster in RJ Cope. It's kind of interesting that the difference there.
Yeah, the stark contrast of like the 6'8" Cope being out there. And even he's a go, like the bat's interesting, the ball comes off, he's got power. And usually you think of Vanderbilt, what you're thinking hoppy fastballs, kind of. There was a time where they're almost cookie cutters, like all these guys are like the Walker Buehler mold, like it's high spin to the top, like with breaking balls. Whereas Cope comes from a high slot at 6'8". It's probably like, I don't even know what the extension is, but like sink, feel for three. It's just a differing look. And I think more teams are starting to think about that. We talked about that with Tucker Thompson at UT. Hey, we can't have all our guys look exactly the same. We need different looks, all of the Rays and what they've done. I do also throw in like John Stowers who's an Auburn recruit from Alabama. Like, I think he's the most important piece for this Team USA because he's so good behind the dish. And you start looking about what Butch has done there at Auburn. You look at what Ike Irish was able to do and all these catchers coming through. Like John Stowers has that first round type profile in 3 years. Like probably not out of high school because high school catchers are just not valued at that level. But he gets to campus. Like he's so good back there. It's a powerful left-handed bat. I think he's a really important piece for Team USA.
My last thing before we let you go here, Shooter, is I always like to see the guys that maybe don't have kind of the traditional bodies or stuff or skills, but just kind of stand out because they are just seem like winning players. And my guy, and he's not in the SEC, so I'm going outside of the SEC here. Feel free to do so as well. Logan Corley, who's a TCU commit, he might be the only guy I saw the entire, and I didn't see every single pitch, but might be the only guy who didn't touch 90 on the mound. But was extremely efficient. It was a bunch of strikes. And then he steps up to the plate and it's extremely good bat to ball, more juice than you think, given that he's probably like 5'9", honestly, and not that built out. Like, and it's just, you come away just like, if I was building a team, like I'd want him on it. I don't know that he's what kind of prospect he'll end up being, but I just would want him on my team.
Yeah, I was sitting with Jake Silverman, one of the assistants at TCU, one of my favorite people in college baseball, who's outstanding to sit next to. And we discussed him for a lot of the week because I wasn't ultra familiar, right? Grady Emerson, we all know, Bo Peterson, Jacob Lombard, all these guys. Like this Corley kid took a good BP. Oh, and then he got a couple hits in the game. Like he's producing this stuff. And they hop on the mound, it's like 87 to 89. But then I'm texting our guys in Texas, like, yeah, he had a long, good spring. It was up to 92 throughout the spring. That's good to know. 3 pitches for a strike. I think TCU, like, I know this is SEC, but like TCU is on the map for the next 2 years, I'd be buying futures in TCU because they have superstar laden sophomore class. They got the right guys to campus in the freshman class. And judging by what we saw at USA and what I've seen on the summer circuit, they're just continuing to reload with regards to these freshmen. And I'm sure they're going to bring in some transfers, but like you got to build that foundation with the freshmen on campus to allow them to grow. So that's really important. I think TCU and Corley, great call by you.
Yeah, that's so interesting too. Like just because again, like with this level of player, you don't know exactly which of these guys will end up being college players. However, regardless of that, it can serve as like a nice snapshot of who's really like, beating the bushes in recruiting and getting guys to commit, because there's still value in that. And in TCU, you look at the teams that had the most players at these trials, and it's the usual suspects, and then TCU. And obviously TCU is a great program, but they're not the national title winning programs of Texas, LSU, Tennessee, et cetera. So it's such a good point that like TCU did, as I was compiling the list and I was, looking at players' commitments, that TCU was right there with these teams that we think of as Omaha perennials.
Yeah, they did a really nice job. And John DeLore and the rest of the staff do such an awesome job recruiting wise. But it like we could do a full other episode on just like how important it is like these guys get to campus, right? A lot of times recruiting rankings will come out super early. These guys commit. It's like this guy's never getting there. Like this is like I always think of the 2022 Vanderbilt recruiting class. Like for 4 years, those guys were never getting to campus. Like it was like we don't need to rank this. They're not even a part of the organ. Like don't worry about this. And I mean, even sticking in like Mississippi State, Kevin McMullen for so many years did a great job at Virginia of kind of staying right below the draft radar. And then they get on campus and they turned into those guys. Now looking at next year with Jack Bauer coming in, but like there's a lot to get excited about in the SEC. And from the drama to the awesome baseball on the field, what they're attacking with the wonderful coverage that you guys do, ESPN puts out there. Like I'm a huge SEC baseball fan watching it. My kids are watching it. I mean, I watch all college baseball out here on the West Coast, but it's going to be even better. And I think that we have a really good foundation if some of these 26s get to campus.
Yeah. Good note to end on there. I'm with you and looking forward to, we talked off for the listeners. We talked off air before we jumped on here about the possibility of kind of working together on giving readers some idea of kind of what to expect on campus and really isolating those players. And so, watch the space, as they say in the biz. Shooter Hunt, I appreciate you joining us again, giving us a little bit of your time at a super busy time of year. So thank you, sir, and enjoy all your work.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the road again soon.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for this edition of Highway to Hoover, a production of SEC Extra, D1Baseball.com. I want to thank Academy Sports and Outdoors for sponsoring this and every episode of Highway to Hoover. One more thank you to Shooter Hunt, the Vice President of Scouting for Prep Baseball, and thank you, the listener.